Okay, if we get started?
Sure.
All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order and ask us all to rise. Pledge, and Mr. Bateson will lead us in the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before we get into too much business, I did want to take time to introduce to the board our new Director of Human and Social Services, Julie DeMarco.
Hi, everybody. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much, I appreciate that.
Julie had been serving as Senior Center Director, Manager on a part-time basis. With Terry Geekengak leaving, Julie's stepping up to fill that role, and we'll be hiring a part-time person to replace her.
Very excited.
Congratulations.
All right, thank you. Do you have anything you want to say to, if you do, you've got to come to the mic.
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
We have a lot to do.
All right, well, thank you for stopping by
Thank you
today.
very much. Thank you,
All right.
gentlemen. See you.
Good luck, Julie.
Be in touch.
All right, then next up, item 3, to consider and act upon the minutes from the regular meeting of June 20th, 2018. May I have a motion to accept?
Make a motion.
A second.
Second.
Any comments or corrections?
I have none.
We okay?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Item 4, and this is for information only, from the Town Facilities Commission, Harry R. Ackley, it's a resignation. Harry's a Republican from 25 Wagon Hill Road. His term was 7/14 to 7/17. His resignation date was June 16th, 2018. Next up, for the Board of Selectmen approval, to hear, consider, and approve the following appointment as recommended by the Board of Library Trustees. Christopher A. Rogers, unaffiliated, 65 Fern Street, for a term of 7/18 to 7/24. This is to fill a vacancy for Joseph Rooney, whose term expired. May I have a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion.
A second?
Second.
Is Mr. Rogers here?
Mr. Rogers is unable to be here tonight.
Okay.
I do have a note, if it pleases the board.
Okay,
Sorry, I'll pause there.
thank you. In a moment. All right, any comments from the board?
I've known Chris Rogers for, I want to say, 4 years now. He's a very active guy in the community. I'm excited that he's willing to serve at the library, on the library board. I know that he's an avid user of the library, so I wish him best of luck in his time on the board.
Okay, Mr. Bateson?
Yeah, I did talk to him when he was on business in West Virginia. I like his resume. I talked to him after you did, so I know we had a lot of the similar talking points, having sat through the Board of Finance meetings and the concerns that we've all heard about strategic planning. What do we think the library is going to look like in 10 years? I like what Chris brings to the table, his finance background. I know you had another candidate. I had talked to Sonal. I think you guys went in the right direction by bringing in finance, a guy with a finance background. I like the fact that he's into market development, so maybe he has a broader spectrum of looking at things. And I think that's gonna fit in well with you guys, because I think, in the next 10 years, it's not just what are we gonna be looking at next year? In 10 years, what is the library gonna look like? What services are you guys gonna provide? And, I had a nice discussion with him, and it seems like, he's more than willing to, start thinking along those lines too when it comes into your strategic plan. So I'm excited to have this guy on.
Okay, good. Mr. Rogers is on business this week, and it's the reason he couldn't be here himself. We had an excellent conversation. I concur with Mr. Bateson. I'm thrilled with his background, but also his perspective. He's got young kids that use the library, but he's also got some great private sector background I think can bring in and add to some of the diversity and perspectives that we have on the library board. So with that, any comments from the public? If you would, come up to the mic, introduce yourself, give us your name and address.
Be happy to do so. My name is Duncan Banfield. I live at 208 South Benson Road in Fairfield. I currently serve as the treasurer of the Library Board of Trustees. We are, as you both mentioned, all three of you mentioned, very excited to have Chris be a part of our board for exactly the reasons that were stated. He brings a wealth of experience, grand perspective into a board that is very focused on the future. If I may, Chris, in his absence, he regrets not being able to be here this evening. Business has called him away, but I have just a brief note that he had penned and would like to have read if possible. Terrific. To the members of the Board of Selectmen, it's my great pleasure to be considered for appointment to the Fairfield Library Board of Trustees. As I cannot attend the Board of Selectmen meeting because of a previous commitment, I'd like to share a few brief comments on my interest in serving. I've been a Fairfield resident and library user for the past 4 years. I believe a healthy and strong library system can support the needs and interests of town residents throughout their lives, across income levels, and through many channels. My professional career has spanned a range of disciplines: risk management, finance, strategic planning, and marketing, and I believe this expertise can be of immediate value to the issues and questions the library board is called upon to address. I'm energized by this opportunity to become more involved in my community and believe that our efforts will have a real impact on the lives of many in our town. Thank you for your consideration, and I'd excitedly serve the town and the library should the Board of Selectmen approve me.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the public? Seeing none, it's back to the board. Are we ready to vote?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations, Mr. Rogers, and the library board on your new member, and we look forward to meeting him at the next opportunity. And thank you for taking time to come today and offer comments on Chris's behalf.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, next up, from the tax collector, to consider and act upon tax refunds as recommended by the tax collector and the amount recommended. Do we have any numbers on that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. May I have a motion to accept?
Make a motion.
A second?
Second.
All right, any edits?
I'd like to make a recommendation to amend
Okay,
the recommended amount to the amount of $53,879.09.
Second.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, the item as amended is before us. Any further discussion?
No.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, that item's done. Next up is the town attorney, a private executive session on pending litigation. I believe there was a suggestion that perhaps we don't need to go into private executive session. Mr. Bateson, did you want to?
It was a recommendation to withdraw the item, because I don't.
The issues,
I'll
let
be
me,
gentle.
no, let me rephrase how it got here, and then
Okay.
what we might do to honor your request in that regard. One is that it came before the Board of Selectmen because we received a letter from an attorney about a possible lawsuit. And so it came before the Board of Selectmen to make sure we were updated on that and could provide appropriate guidance and an appropriate decision. I believe, if I understood your suggestion earlier to Mr. Hipson, was that we basically are referring this back to our Human Resources Director to make his best effort to resolve this without it coming to pending litigation. And since we've had those sessions, we know what his recommendation is going to be, so we know what direction he's going to move in. And we're, don't have any objection to him moving in that direction.
Okay. That sounds like, yeah.
All right, so if that's the consensus of the board, then if we don't make a motion to go into private executive session, Mr. Hipson sitting in the audience, he's heard our discussion and our recommendation. We can move on from this item if that's okay with the board.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay.
No.
So the Human Resources Director is gonna do his job.
Well, we're giving him direction
Yeah.
to basically follow the recommendation. He's told us he will follow and do his best to do what's in the best interest of the town and to keep us out of litigation.
Right. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is to hear, consider, and act upon any other business that shall properly come before this meeting. I don't know of any, but I do have a couple discussion points for the board. Kind of more heads up than anything else. One, obviously, we had a light agenda tonight. We don't have anything heavier coming up before next Wednesday, our next meeting. And because the RTM isn't meeting this month and the Board of Finance isn't meeting till September, we have August meetings we can catch up with. So I'm going to recommend we cancel next week's Board of Selectmen meeting.
Okay.
All right, so that was one. And then two, the Board of Finance as we've kind of gone through the budget process this year, is suggesting they don't want to follow our past practice, and they want to refer us back to the charter. So, in one of our August meetings, probably the first one, I've asked the finance director, Bob Mayer, to come back before our board and review what the charter says is the budget process.
And walk us through the calendar.
Yes.
Has the Board of Finance set their calendar?
No. If you look at the charter defines a certain process.
Yeah, the 30.
That can be changed based on a recommendation from this board, but subject to the approval of the Board of Finance. But any change to that start here. Bob will most likely bring us a couple of options, and we'll have a chance to evaluate those, but we don't have to vote on it in August, but we want to know about it then. I want to make sure we're thinking about it so we can see what the impact is, but it dramatically changes the schedule from where we've been in the past.
Okay, could you have Kathleen look at those meetings and just refer me to what meetings the Board of Finance, where that discussion was? Because I remember there was a meeting where the Budget Subcommittee was talking about that. Does she know where that was?
I don't know if she does.
Okay, all right.
We can certainly do our best to find out, Ed, I don't mean that.
That's what I'm
but
looking at,
just-
because I
I'm
want to
just-
catch up on their
Yeah,
conversation and what the rationale was.
Yeah, I'm not sure. There have been a couple of different things said. One of the things that Chairman Flynn said last fall was that, in a public meeting, so I'm not sharing anything in confidence, that they wanted the Board of Finance to get more credit for what was taking place during the budget process. And they were concerned that I'll stop there, but you
Okay.
can probably, so it's been referenced in some of the fall meetings, it's been referenced in some of the spring meetings. We did make some adjustments this year to give them a full 2 weeks after the Board of Selectmen voted, before they voted. So they had time to consider, even though the changes, I think, in the last few years have been fairly minimal from the Board of Selectmen. There was a concern that we might make major changes and they would need time to fully evaluate that. The charter actually calls for the Board of Selectmen to make our recommendation to the Board of Finance a full 2 months before the RTM annual meeting. So roughly, we would be voting on our recommendations the first week in March. So that dramatically, and that means we would also then have meetings with the department heads through the month of February, and the Board of Finance would have their meetings with department heads through the month of March, so we'd be redundant in that case. But I'll ask Mr. Mayor to step us through that and step us through a couple different options he's proposing that address that need.
Okay.
All right, so unless there's anything else, I have a motion to adjourn.
Before we go, I want to remind everybody that the Fairfield Little League is happening now. The tournaments have started. Last year, we had an incredible run. And we unanimously supported as the Board of Selectmen. The best of luck to our Little League teams as they hopefully run back to Williamsport. Both Fairfield American and Fairfield National are in tournament play as we speak. So best of luck to them.
And I think just to expand on it, we've got 1,500 kids, I believe, that from Fairfield American and Fairfield National that play in Little League and have gotten down to these two teams in terms of going forward. So thank you for pointing it out, and let's make sure the whole town gets behind them and doing that. All right,
Motion to adjourn.
all right.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.